has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today, we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
Hello, good morning and welcome to National Discourse. Of course, we are still committed to bringing you activities that unite us as Nigerians. Today is very historical. When it has to do, we're talking about the antecedent or historical antecedent. Today is 12th of June that our president have recognized, or brought to our notice that it should be celebrated as Democracy Day. And of course, that is our focus for today. I have someone in the studio that will help us to dissect today what it means or if there is any undertone to it. So I implore you to sit back and sit tight. You can call us on the number that will hit your screen very soon. Your contribution or your questions will be much needed. Now, I remain your host, Uche Uduma. We'll go for a short break. And when we come back, I introduce the guests and then we'll kick off from there. Please stay with us. Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa Nakama. They are like Agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today, we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
Hello, welcome, and of course today I have someone in the studio with me, someone special who has always been coming around to help us, dissect issues. Now I have Barrister Tolu Babaleye. Sir, I hope I'm correct with that name.
Yes, you are very correct.
You're welcome, sir.
Thanks for
Good
inviting
morning.
me.
Yes, sir.
Good morning,
yes, sir.
Nigerians.
Yeah. Okay, now, sir, I would want to move straight to what we have today. We're discussing June 12th or 12th of June, whichever we want to take it. Now, what is June 12th all about?
Well, to me, June 12th is a missed opportunity in the life of Nigerians and Nigeria as a nation. June 12, 1993 was a day that all Nigerians threw away all toga of division in terms of tribe and religion to vote for a Muslim ticket, represented by Chief Moshood Kashimawo, Olawale Abiola, and Baba Gana Kingibe. But unfortunately, the election was truncated with an annulment by the then military maximum ruler and junta, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. It was a day that Nigeria chose to move forward, but which the leadership of the nation had then truncated. That is what June 12 represents to me.
All right. Now, from the press statement or release that we saw the president, brought out last week, he made mention of what is most significant about June 12th. Now, apart from the fact that he wants to recognize the effort of MK Abiola and all that. Now, the question is, that was like 20 years after his death. Why did we just wake up to that recognition now?
Well, it is not, it is better late than never. That is what I believe. It is better late than never. What the president has done is good, but he cannot just pick one out of a whole. The June 12th is a phenomenon. That is, it starts from the preparation for the election itself, and the post-election. The president cannot just say, yes, June 12th has now become Nigeria Democracy Day by fiat without going to National Assembly. He cannot also say, I am giving Abiola the highest honor in the land, GCFR. I think I'm correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, GCFR. And he cannot say, I am honoring Abiola posthumously, posthumously, without looking at the circumstances surrounding the annulment of the election itself, without calling on INEC to declare Abiola as a president-elect posthumously, and without recognizing the fact that Abiola represents the conscience of Nigeria as far as June 12 is concerned. President has tried his best, but he should address the whole issue surrounding June 12. He should bring to book people who are involved in the annulment. He should recognize the people who are maimed and killed, those who pay supreme price. I can remember that over 200 people were killed the same day by Abacha, who rolled out tanks on the street of Lagos against the people who were protesting against June 12. I was a student union activist in 1993. So I could still remember vividly. So all those people, both living and dead, their names must be mentioned comprehensively, so that we can address issues and related to June 12 in a way that it will be acceptable to everybody. That is my perspective about it.
All right. Looking at the statement again, the president said June 12th election, 1993, remains the freest, the fairest, and of course the most peaceful election. Now, I want to pick the freest or the fairest. All right. Now, are we saying that from 1999 that we saw or we have the democratic dispensation come into play in Nigeria till now? We're talking about close to over 19 years now.
25 years. Okay, yeah.
19 years from 1999 to now. Are we saying we have not had a credible election?
That is the truth. No election since 1999 to date has been credible. And I'll tell you the reason. In 1993, Professor Humphrey Nwosu, which I believe should also be honored, was the brain behind June 12. He invented what they call Option A4. Option A4 means that you have to be popular from your ward, from your district, from your state to the national. And you saw Nigerians queuing up without pretense. Everybody queued up behind the person that he wants to be elected as president. And the election was so transparent to the extent that it was free and fair. And now up to today, no election in Nigeria has been that free and fair. In 1999, we just transited from a military regime to civilian regime. Nobody cared about how the election was conducted. The election was schemed to favor President Obasanjo because some people wanted to compensate Southwest just because of the perceived injustice against MKO, which they believe came from Southwest. We remember what happened in 1993 when Obasanjo, contested again for second term. We saw the election, how those elections were rigged. Some of them were now later, annulled by the various courts. We saw the election of Yaradua in 2007. Even Yaradua himself acknowledged that this election was not free and fair. He was very honest and said his election was not free and fair. We saw what happened in when Goodluck became president, and the current president, he felt that it was rigged out, and he said baboon and lion will drink blood. And we saw what happened. If the election has been free and fair, I'm very sure nobody will throw a single stone. So look at the last election. We saw what happened. It was heavily manipulated with money bought up by at everywhere. So many things happen. For example, in Kano, up to today, the resident electoral commissioner, his wife and 2 daughters were killed, and nobody has said that this is what happened. But Nigerians are suspecting foul play based on the election that brought in the incumbent. So in all, since 1999, no election has been free and fair. But I will also I will not give a random condemnation. I want to commend Jega, the last INEC boss. He really tried his best, but his best was not enough to match what Professor Humphrey Nwosu did in 1993.
Now, does this put a question of credibility on the part of INEC? If since 1999 now we've not really had a free and fair election, as you're trying to say, now does it put a question of credibility on the part of INEC?
Seriously, there is question of credibility on the part of INEC. Yes, I agree with that, and that is the correct position. The reason why I said that there is question of credibility is that we saw the people who are operating the system. For example, former Deputy Senate President Alhaji Ibrahim Mantu said it over in the national television that he has been involved in rigging election from 1999 by compromising INEC, doing this and that. We saw what happened at the last election, where it was alleged that the then Minister for Petroleum compromised INEC, gave money at various levels to compromise the personnel, the people that conducted the election. So we have credibility crisis since 1999 on election in Nigeria. So that is why it is very, very good for us to revisit 1993. Professor Nwosu is still available. Nigeria should tap from his wealth of experience. Ask him, how did he achieve 1993 free, and fairest election? So that ushered in,
you sincerely think he should have been mentioned in this award?
Honestly, without mentioning Professor Nwosu in this award, I can't see the award has been fair. That is just the truth, because it's as if you are awarding the person who emerged the winner. You do not, you are not interested in the foundation of how the person emerged. Professor Nwosu should be awarded, in fact, with the highest honor in the land, even though the highest honor is reserved for the president. But then he should be rewarded with one of the best awards in Nigeria, because he came out, he was even upon the intimidation, he was trying to announce the election until he was abducted by the then military junta and taken to somewhere in Buhari, and they told him, they warned him that if you ever do it, you will perish with your family. And that was why the man said, no, it's better for me to earn my living than to die for June 12th. So the man, up to now, his credibility is intact. That is just my own perspective of this thing. And that is why you have not seen anybody indicting Professor Humphrey Nwosu. He ever in the history of Nigeria, he organized the best election. But unfortunately, that election was never allowed to come to be by the powers that be, who, for one reason or the other, annul the mandate of Nigerians.
Right. So many reactions have trailed this particular declaration, and then we saw clearly our own Senator Dino Melaye in the House speaking against the declaration and saying that MK Abiola is not a non-Nigerian, probably because he's dead. So I want to get that legal perspective from it. Well,
Dino has retracted what he said. I think I read it on social media that he never said that that it was misunderstood, it was misinterpreted. Because when I heard about what he said, I was wondering. Well, I said it jokingly that people should not blame Senator Dino because he's my friend. When he fell from the police vehicle, he landed on his head. So when he said that thing, I was just saying it jokingly, maybe that something must be wrong, with due respect to him. If you say that somebody who was born and bred and was elected in a free and fairest election in Nigeria, died in Nigeria, buried in Nigeria, and you now said it's not in Nigeria. Abiola was in Nigeria and is still in Nigeria. Whether you are dead or alive, your domicile of origin does not change in law. That is just it.
All right. Now, look, coming back to some statements that we have not had free and fair elections, because we know the certified parties, they run to court. Now, what is the place or the role that the judiciary have played in all of this? Now, if I'm dissatisfied from the result of an election, I go straight to the court. Yes. So for all the people that have contested the result of elections, what actually is the role of judiciary in making sure that we have a kind of a very clean democracy?
Well, when you look at section 66B of 1999 Constitution, it talks about the power of the courts, which is a power of the judiciary, that whoever is aggrieved can approach the court of law. And if you look at the judiciary in Nigerian politics, they have really tried their best, except in 1 or 2 instances where people have complained that the judgment ought not to be, but who am I to challenge the judgment of a competent court of law? So the issue is that we have seen elections, especially during Obasanjo. Some of the elections conducted during Obasanjo regime were overturned at the various tribunals, and even some up to Court of Appeal. Then up to, as at that time, the cases don't get to Supreme Court. But up to the highest court at that time, the Court of Appeal, the elections were overturned. And the reason is not far-fetched. Because when you look at the way the elections are conducted, you discover that Obasanjo's regime conducted the worst election in the history of Nigeria. There was a time he was using the word like do or die. That he said that the election is do or die. He was even trying to disqualify some Nigerians from contesting election on the ground that of allegation of corruption. You see, when somebody is alleged of corruption and he has not been found guilty, I don't know the basis upon which such person, was being disqualified until the former vice president Atiku Abubakar took him on and challenged him up to Supreme Court. In fact, the freedom we are enjoying in our election today was bought for us by Atiku Abubakar, and we must commend that man as far as Nigerian politics and democracy is concerned. I don't know Atiku Abubakar, but looking at his antecedent, we have to commend Atiku Abubakar because he was the one who fought for the freedom we are enjoying today. Otherwise, the president will just sit somewhere and just dictate so and so people should contest, so and so people should not contest. But thank God for Atiku Abubakar, who challenged who spoke, true to power and challenged them to the highest court of the land. And it was, decided in the court that until you are proved to be guilty, you cannot be stopped from contesting an election. And in this regime, about 3 or 4 months ago, I heard that they were debating it, that in 2019, that some people will be stopped, some that are standing trial for corruption, that are still in court, will not be allowed to contest. I don't think the president or INEC has such power. So the judiciary have already, decided on that to the effect
what is the legal position?
The legal position is that until you are found guilty, you are presumed to be innocent. So it's a constitutional provision.
As long as the trial is ongoing,
as long as the trial is ongoing,
has the right to
you have not been found guilty, you are free to contest in an election in Nigeria, because the presumption of innocence is still there by under section 35(6) of 1999.
Now, what about people that are held in detention? I don't want to say custody because I don't want to say unlawful custody though. Now, the case of Dasuki is still there. Amidst all the court judgments that he should be let go. Now, if Dasuki wants to wake up and contest for next day, what will he do?
Well, the case of Dasuki is an unfortunate situation in Nigeria. It is a situation where the executive has refused to respect and obey order of court. It is a snag and a serious decimal on the image of the current government. And that is why I am using this opportunity to call the president in the spirit of June 12th to give Nigeria freedom and let us play according to the rule. Let us look at equality before the law. Let us look at civil liberty, and let us look at due process of law. If the court has said Dasuki should be released, he should be released, for God's sake. So that Dasuki is being kept in detention up to today is illegal. In fact, it's an affront to the principle of separation of power, which makes the judiciary as the court that has the final arbiter to decide on the right or otherwise of Nigerians. So the court have said release Dasuki on bail. I call on the president to release Dasuki on bail because this is democracy. This is not a militocracy, and this is not a oligarchy system of government. This is democracy. And in any democracy where court is not respected, then that democracy is heading for the rocks. And I pray that Nigerian democracy will not head for the rocks.
All right, amen. Now, looking at the indirect interference by the executive into the judiciary, do you think having the office of the most senior person in the judicial arm as a political position, do you think it has any kind of a link to this?
In all civilized world, office of the highest man in the judiciary, in fact, any of the offices of the judiciary ought not to be politicized. It is supposed to be on merit, because a judge ought to give his judgment without fear or favor, without looking at anybody's face, and that is why you see the symbol of justice as that blind woman who holds two scale. It depends on your evidence whether the scale would tend towards your favor or to the other side. So if that is the symbol of judiciary, then what are we talking about? In a situation where the president will have the final say on who becomes the chief justice of the federation, it will not be good for the system. There must a system must evolve that will not, will distill the president of any power of influence on who becomes the chief justice of the federation. So it should be distinct from politics. That is the way I look at it. And also of the opinion that the office of the Attorney General should be separated from the office of Minister for Justice. While Minister for Justice can be a politician, an Attorney General should be a career person who is above board, who cares not about whose source is God as far as law is concerned. That is when we can get it right in our democracy. And I know that we are getting there. For example, now when you look at the National Assembly now and the executive, when you look at their relationship, it is not robust, and it is good for our system, because it's a situation where the Senate or the House of Reps will become a rubber stamp to the executive will not be good for democracy. I love what is going on in between them, and I pray it continues like that, because we have a situation where the Senate and the House of Reps are working up to their responsibility to say, even though we were elected on the same platform with the president, but then we are fighting for the common interest of Nigerians. And that is any day you see the judiciary and the executive and the legislature in cahoot, then the ordinary masses are in trouble. And God forbid that day should come in Nigeria.
Are you trying to say you wish to expect that between the judiciary and the executive? Would that all go well with us?
No. I'm talking of legislature and the executive. Now, judiciary is a separate arm.
I'm bringing you back to the instance where judiciary gives judgment and the executive indirectly flouts, those judgments. That's why I'm asking. Should the relationship that's existing between the legislative and the executive happen between the judiciary and the executive? That is how it should be a welcome development.
That is how it should be. What I expect is that our judiciary should be more courageous. Send anybody who flouts court order to the gulag. It's very simple.
Now, is it possible for that to happen when we keep having these offices as a political position?
Well, it is. We will get there. That is what I know. But as it is now, it is very wrong for the executive to be disobeying court orders. But I will call on lawyers who are involved in these cases to file. They are from 48 and 49. Send anybody who has been in disobedience of court order to where he rightly belongs. It has happened before. Attorney General of Edo State was sent to prison for disobedience of court order. So I don't know why it cannot happen to the Attorney General of the Federation. If he disobeys court order, he should be sent to prison. Nobody is above the law. That is the way I look at it.
All right. While Nigerians are still celebrating, are still joining to celebrate June 12th, we still saw so many reactions on social media, against this same declaration. While people are applauding Mr. President for at least remembering history or trying to, put MK Abiola as part of the historical antecedents we have in Nigeria. Now, we still saw some people saying that this is exactly not what we want now. I'm not talking about, I've not moved into the political undertone to this. Now, at this point in time, do you think this is all Nigerians want? Do you think it is all, that will make Nigeria a better place?
Well, I don't think so.
Do you think it's a misplaced priority?
Recognizing June 12 will not put food on the table of any Nigerian. It will not lead to reduction in the price of rice or milk in the market, but at least it will assuage the feelings of injustice. There has been injustice since 1993. So many governments have passed through the land without recognizing the day, without recognizing the winner of the election. And I want you to know that MKO died for democracy that all of us are enjoying now. In fact, the people who are in the helms of affairs now, those who are in the Senate and in the House of Reps, are the people who fought against June 12. For example, the former Senate president is one of the 7. I'm talking of the immediate past Senate president now. The name just keep my mind now. This man from Benue State, who is still in the Senate, is one of the 7 that decided that June 12 should be annulled. Even though June 12 will not reduce poverty, so to say, on the streets of Nigeria, but it has given sense of justice to some people. It has told us that nothing can be hidden forever. One day the history will be told. And now I want to use this opportunity to call on the president. Now that he's trying to unearth some cadaver, you know what they call cadavers, some cadaver that already buried. Now I read on the pages of newspaper this morning that he has ordered that Shibolaga's death should be investigated. Chief Dokubo's death should be investigated. Harry Marshall's death should be investigated. I also want to call on the president to investigate the death of the Army commissioner in Kano. He should investigate it. Some people must provide explanation to what happened to that man, his wife, and 2 daughters. They were born beyond the recognition in a very, suspicious circumstance, and very close to April 2015, election. Something, the reason why the man was killed must be unearthed. So if the president is trying to do one, he must do all, and that is the only way that it can be seen to be fair. Because when people are now reading insinuation that President Obasanjo is the target, when he now said they should go and investigate Bolagi, they should go and investigate the death of Dokubo. So investigate all unresolved death, including that of Delegiwa and that of this man who was trying to contest with Bola Tinubu in Lagos, Funsho Williams. The death should also be investigated so that Nigeria will see the president has been above board, that decision he has taken is not for politics but for the general good of Nigerians. But in the same where you now do one and leave the other, just like the way they are fighting corruption now, fighting some and leaving some, Nigeria will continue to read political meaning to it. Like this June 12 now, they are saying it's a political masterstroke. How on earth can anybody want to benefit from, declaring, recognizing the symbol of June 12? It should not be used as a political capital. That is the way I look at it. Because all Nigerians suffer for June 12. So many people lost their lives. So many people lost their means of livelihood. In fact, the whole of Abiola family are still suffering till today because of the untimely death of their breadwinner, Chief Moshood Kashimawo Abiola. So many things happened. And now that the president is recognizing the June 12, it should not be seen as a political tool, maybe towards the 2019 election. It should not be seen like that. The president should see it that he is doing a favor to Nigeria. It should not be seen. He should not see himself as doing a favor to Nigeria, but he should see himself as a statesman who is trying to do justice where there has been injustice for so many number of years. That is my perspective. All
right, we'll be going for a short break now, and when we come back, we are looking at the implication of the declaration. Are we saying we're going to shift, or we're going to have a paradigm shift from our handover date from 29th of May to June 12th? Don't worry, sir. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll look at all of that. Please stay with us.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa yang nakama. They are like agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has an undertone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
All right, welcome back from that break. And before we went for that break, like I said, there's so many reactions that have trailed this declaration. And of course, some persons are raising some things up. Like, are we saying we're going to push a handover date to 12th of June from 29th of May? That's why I have a senior in the house today, sir. Looking at this critically,
Yes.
can it work?
It cannot work. If you want to hear my opinion,
Exactly.
you can recognize June 12th as a day of liberty, day of democracy, but May 29 symbolizes a paradigm shift from military to civilian. So that day is very, very, very significant. June 12 was annulled by a military man who handed over to a weak person, a weak president in the form of Shoneka. Shoneka was ambushed and he said, please don't kill me, come and take power if you want to take. It was given back to Abacha. Abacha was there for like 5 years. He was doing his own transition from Abacha to Abacha. We had the story of 5 hands of lepers, 5 hands of lepers. All of them were adopting Abacha as their candidate, as if Abacha was God. Then when God came and visited the land, all of us were like sleeping. Before you know it, Abacha was gone. And Abdulsalami came in. And as God will have it, God used Abdulsalami. And Abdulsalami handed over to a civilian government for the second time. So you discover that May 29 is very, very significant. And all the people who are in the National Assembly, all the majority of the governors had their oath of office on May 29. So how do you want to shift from May 29 to June 12? Do you want to extend your tenure by through the back door? Anyway, what I know is that there is a public holidays act. It has not been amended. As I talked to you, at the last time I checked, June 12 is not a recognized national holiday.
How long does the amendment take? Because we're looking at from now to next year's election under 1 year.
The National Assembly that I see, from their views, they are not ready to amend to shift the day of handing over from May 29 to June 12. You can amend the Public Holidays Act, and if you like, you can make May 29 Democracy Day, public holiday. You can make June 12 public holiday, but you cannot shift the date of swearing in from May 29 to June 12, because it will be unconstitutional. Because when you look at the Constitution, if you take an office as a governor or a president, you have a tenure of 4 years. So, and the days cannot shift. It starts from the day and end on the eve of that day. So how do you now factor in June 12th?
What if there's an amendment?
If there's an,
remember that the president just signed some amendments.
The amendment has to be constitutional amendment, and you know it is very tedious to amend the constitution. It will go around all the state of the federation. You cannot finish the amendment before the next handing over date.
The last bill that the president signed into law Friday last week, how long do you think it took?
3 years.
Talking about financial autonomy?
3 years.
Okay.
The National Assembly has been amending the constitution for 3 years. So the president just signed it to law last week. It went to all the national houses of assembly in the 36 states. So it took 3 years to just have 2 amendments. You know, so many other amendments were proposed, but they drop along the line. Something like local government autonomy dropped. Something like what do I call it now? Apart from local government autonomy, that amendment could not be carried. Could not be carried through, and some others could not be carried through. Then, for example, the amendment of the Electoral Act, so to shift the presidential election to become the last election, cannot be carried through. So Nigeria is a very complex society where we have various degree of interest. Before you know it, you will see a lot of interest that will come on this issue we are talking about. Some people are now seeing it as a Southwest thing. Now, one of most unfortunate things in this June 12th thing is the award of recognition to Babangida Kingibe. With due respect, I don't think he deserves it. If you look at the history of June 12th, Babangida Kingibe betrayed MK Abiola. He took office as a minister for external affairs and ditched Abiola, and he gave interview to the news why I ditched or why I jettisoned June 12th and MKO. Now, from this award, Babangida Kingibe is the most beneficiary, because Abiola is dead, his family are dead, they will only be given recognition. But Babangida Kingibe is still alive. He's now going to reap from where he did not sow, with due respect. But because of the fact that there was a joint ticket, there's nothing anybody can do. Awarding Babangida Kingibe is a serious tap on loyalty and a very good award for betrayal. That is my own view about it. But unfortunately, there is a joint ticket of president and vice president. There's no way you can talk of MKO without talking of Babangida Kingibe. That is one of the complexities we have in this country.
All right, now moving on, we know that next year is election, and the recognition of June 12th and its significance, could it be carried over to next year? I mean, the kind of election, the way we described it, freest, fairest, most peaceful and all that, can we expect such a thing for next year? If the president can recognize this and is coming out for he's coming out as a presidential candidate for election next year, could we carry most of these characteristics of June 12th election to next year's election?
Well, I believe INEC should be listening. They should go back and get their acts together and try to beat the standard of Professor Humphrey Nwosu, whom I recognize as still being the best INEC chairman ever in the history of Nigeria. If we want to do it, we can do it in Nigeria. The president should be, if the president wants to do it, he should be a statesman. He can win the election and he might not win. For example, Goodluck conducted the last election. It was a little bit free and fair, but he lost the election and he gave in that yes, no blood of Nigeria. I mean, how did he say it? That my election is not worth of the blood of any Nigerian. So he allowed it to go. That is what I expect any good president who is a statesman to behave. Do
you see that happening next year?
Well, for President Buhari, is a very honest man. No problem about him. But the people who are surrounding him, the cabal, are the problem we have in Nigeria. Even President Buhari wants to do it, they will not allow him to do it. They will go behind him, because we have a situation where president is being disobeyed here and there by his people who are very close to him. For example, the IG of police disobeyed him. He's on record. The president also said it 2-3 days ago that the information minister for information also disobeyed him. So we have a president that is being disobeyed by the people he appointed into offices. So if the president himself wants to say, I want a free and fair election, I'm very sure the people who are surrounding him may still go ahead and disobey him and organize a worse election. But Nigerians are wiser. I'm very sure that anything short of free and fair election will be resisted by Nigerians.
Now, I know power of incumbency is not on paper, but you and I know what it means. Can that affect next year's election?
Well, power of incumbency, we have seen it failed at the last regime. It can fail at any time. It depends on the PVC of an average Nigerian. There is only one whose power of incumbency cannot fail. That is the Almighty God. Every other person, his power of incumbency can fail. As powerful as Abacha is, his power of incumbency failed. Because all of us were already sure that he was going to transmute from Abacha to Abacha. The power of incumbency failed. All I will say is that if the president wants a second term, he should gear up, improve more on what we have now in Nigeria. Because if we go to election today, as it is in Nigeria, from what this regime has done, it is 50-50. Not like what America said, to be too close to call. Because as it is today, that I do not see any clear chance of President Buhari winning the election. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. But if he takes step from this June 12th that he has recognized, at least this June 12th now has given him some leeway, whether anybody likes it or not, in Southwest. At least in Southwest, I know that.
Was that his intention? Because
well,
that was the contention of PDP.
It might be part of his intention. That is why his handlers are calling it political master stroke. That's to tell you that he are making political capital and political gain from recognition of June 12th. And let me tell you, without deceiving ourselves, he has gained something from that. Because so many people in Southwest now say, good that he has done this. It has changed the perspective for so many, even though there is still hunger in the land. But they believe that he has redressed injustice. So if he can continue like this, obey all court orders, release Zaki, release Dasuki, that the court said he should release. Do everything. Do not persecute anybody like the way they are persecuting Senate President, persecuting Dogara. Try to persecute Obasanjo for saying that I want to work against you. Don't persecute him. Nigerians will decide. Obasanjo cannot decide for anybody. Let him have his right of say, but he should not be intimidated for what he has said. After all, he was their navigator in 2015. What has happened between 2015 and now? So if the president is above board, he's not persecuting anybody, he's not chasing anybody, he listens to criticism and corrects himself where need be and hold on to his policies where he thinks is right, I am telling you, he will win the 2019 election. But if he thinks he can do it by force, by coercion, by chasing people away from APC through all these parallel congresses that the congresses are now giving, so some people are now the owners of APC while other people are chased away, I am telling you the president will have problem.
Now, talking about people chasing away, we saw a group surfacing and they call themselves New PDP, yet in APC, placing certain demands on the president that you should allow certain people to come back to office. I don't know what your take is on that. New
PDP has always been, if you have been following political issue of Nigeria, it was a breakaway, branch of PDP, led by 5 governors, led by the current Minister of Transport, who was then the governor of Rivers State. They left PDP and joined the APC. And you know the APC, has many parties that joined them. They call them legacy parties. We have a part of ABGA, led by Okorosha. We have CPC, led by Buhari. We have ANPP, led by Shekarau. And we have ACN, led by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Jagaban Bogu. Then we have New PDP, making 5 legacy parties. But unfortunately, there was no real negotiation. There was no MOU, no agreement on what they want to do. They just came together, used it as an amalgam to chase Good Luck away. And as soon as Good Luck was chased away, everybody now went to his own shell. If you look at what is happening, you see that the juiciest and the highest number of political appointments are with CPC, followed by ACN, then followed by ABGA. New PDP are now complaining because they came with 5 governors, and after bringing Buhari to power, they are according to them, they have nothing to show for it. And another election is coming, and that is why they have now gone for this what they call horse trading. That what will you give us if you still want our loyalty, if you still want our election, if you still want our votes, if you still want us to support you in 2015, that is where New PDP is coming in. From what I'm seeing, meeting of strange bedfellows. The central can no longer hold. Because when you look at the last APC Congress, there were various discordant tune everywhere in Nigeria. There were parallel congresses in 26 out of 36 states. And before the resolution, instead of resolving the crisis, the national chairman of APC went ahead and inaugurated, some chairmen, leaving all others in the court without calling them for reconciliation or anything. But let us wait and see whether Oshiomhole will come and bring a better life into the party. But as the party is today, it is disjointed, disunited, disorganized. In fact, it is to your 10th Israel. That is what I will call it in APC. The peace you have in APC is a piece of the graveyard. There's no peace in that kind of situation. Now, because there's no peace without justice.
All right. Now, looking at the party before we go, PDP survived for 16 years, though with all their troubles and all that, or their challenges, rather. Now, looking at APC, as young as APC is, this is roughly 3 years that this formation took place, and of course, they're in power. Don't you think it's too young to start having this crisis, or do you rather think APC can survive or go through the test of time?
Well, I don't know what will happen. It's only God that knows. But looking from a contemporary history, judging from contemporary history, PDP did not have problem in their formative years, just like the APC is having now. And what is causing the problem in APC is greed and winner takes all. Democracy should be all embracing. But we are a group of people who now say we are the owners of the party. Every other person that came to join us are not part of us. It's not good for democracy. Democracy is a game of number. The way APC is going, if they do not get themselves together, use their internal, crisis resolution mechanism very well, I doubt if the party can survive beyond 2019. As it is now, the Imo State governor is crying foul in Imo State. In Oyo State, there is no peace between the Minister for Communication and the governor. In Lagos State, the National Legal Advisor, Muiz Banira and Bola Tinubu group are at loggerhead. In Ondo State, there is crisis.
Kaduna State? In
Kaduna State, there is crisis. In fact, in Adamawa State, Baba Memangoro and the present governor, they are at loggerheads. In fact, even in Katsina State, the state of the president, there is problem in the party. And they are not taking any step to resolve the issues. Well, I hope they can resolve before 2019. But if they do not resolve before 2019 and allow this discussion tune, and look at the way they are treating members of National Assembly, the National Assembly members are feeling that they are fighting them. So, and now, if you read in the newspaper, you see movements, you see meetings here and there. 100 House of Rep, 26 senators, we read every day, wants to leave APC. If you allow 100 members of our House of Rep and 26 senators to leave APC and join PDP, I am sorry, 2019 maybe bye-bye to APC. But if they can get their act together, resolve everybody, bring everybody on board, behave like a real ruling party, and do not be winner takes all, they can still ameliorate and win 2019.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And so sad we have to cut it there to allow other programs or other issues to come up. Now, thank you very much for coming. Of course, June 12th, the significance of June 12th is to recognize a very clear, democratic dispensation. Now, we are in it again, and we can only prove that by getting our PVCs and getting ready for next year. And we pray that the purpose or the aim of declaring June 12th as a democracy, they will not be defeated next year. We keep our fingers crossed and hope that next year's election will remain free, fair, and of course most peaceful in Nigeria. And of course that's the only thing that can boost the declaration of June 12th. We are here celebrating June 12th, and we pray as Nigerians, as one card and one spirit as Nigerians, that God will keep blessing us as Nigerians, of course, strengthening our democracy in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks.